Boom.
All right, we are live. Welcome for those of you who are joining us later. This is the first Q&A Sunday that we're going to be doing. It's 12 p.m. on a Sunday. Normally, we're live on this time during the football season, so we figured we'd keep up the trend and basically talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. If you have Dynasty questions, if you have redraft questions, all that kind of stuff, rookie questions, everything that you might need for this, we will answer them here, and we'll be doing this every Sunday for the rest of the offseason.
For sure. Just pumped up. And yeah, if you guys are seeing this right now, you have already pre-ordered the draft guide. Go check it out because there's some more articles up on the site ready for y'all. So stay tuned.
Yeah, so what Danny's referring to is our draft guide. Basically, we're doing a pre-release, and we didn't announce this. We're just going to do it for those of you maybe who have the draft guide or ordered the draft guide who aren't watching this right now and are watching it later. What we're doing is we're releasing like the bigger name players, their write-ups, all for those of you that have pre-ordered. And if you haven't pre-ordered, if you want a chance to be in our Listener Dynasty League, you can do so in the link in the description. But yeah, so we have the bigger name guys up. We'll be sending out logins for those of you that have pre-ordered the draft guide to log into the site to view those. But yeah, they're up early. So
definitely. I'm gonna put that in the chat for y'all. So let me know if y'all can see that.
And Javon is in here. He was in here early, actually. He says, yo, what's up, Javon? Classic tune-in of the weekly live streams for Sunday football. Hope to see you for the rest of the offseason, too.
100%. Yeah, we'll wait until people start filing in. Is there anybody in right now? I don't think so.
Yeah, we got 5 in, it says.
Oh, okay. It doesn't even show that for me because for whatever reason, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, they're playing. I saw they're playing like an old Super Bowl on NFL Network right now. I was just watching it while I was finishing some stuff off this morning, and I saw Shaq Barrett like go down with an injury in the game. It was the Broncos and Panthers Super Bowl that they're playing, and I was like, "Oh man, Shaq!" It was weird. I was just like doing something. All I hear is, and now we got Shaquille Barrett going down. I'm like, "What the heck?"
Hey, you remember when Shaquille Barrett was viewed as like an off ball / edge rusher? He wasn't even like a full time edge in Denver. He was he's getting used off ball, right? Now I'm like, okay, well, regardless, when he was actually like coming off the edge, he was looking good. So I'm like, okay, maybe Dallas will sign him. And no, Tampa got him, and now he's one of the top 10 edges in the league. So
yeah,
y'all got a nice
Jared,
one.
Another classic of the weekly live streams.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jared, you're the only one in here that's letting them know that they're here. So if you want to fire away any questions you got, go ahead. We're kind of just pitter pattering right now. So
chilling, yeah, chilling. There we go, yeah, Javon and Lamar.
Love that.
There we go. What about that tweet? It was like, all these YouTubers say smash that like button, but never tell you to gently press it or something like that.
Gently press the like button. Don't smash that. It's gonna hurt. Yeah.
Hey, you don't want to hurt the like button.
For sure. And Lamar Gaming's here. He says, yo, hey, Lamar, you came with the questions last time. We're going to need some questions here. As you can see, we need some things to talk about here. Do you see the reports that Carson Wentz, like Frank Reich was quoted as saying like we can build around him if we were to acquire him? I guess.
Oh God.
I mean, the Colts make a lot of sense. Like the last time Carson Wentz was good, Frank Reich was his like play caller. So I mean,
and I don't like that at all. I don't get why the Eagles aren't the ones that have to give up draft comp because his contract is that bad. To be honest, like. If I was offered a second for him, which is probably what someone has already offered, I would have taken that yesterday.
Yeah, apparently no one's offered first, which, I mean, makes sense. They're looking for a Stafford package. Like, you're not getting one.
Get out of here.
So Jared says the latest ESPN mock I saw had Wilson going to the Jets. Is there something wrong with Fields? No, I personally love Fields, but I like Zach Wilson better. And whoever put that Wilson to the Jets ahead of Fields thing, I agree with them, and I would do the exact same thing if I was the Jets and I was picking a quarterback. I think what Wilson gives you, they're both great prospects. They're both great prospects, but what Wilson gives you that Fields doesn't all the time is one, consistency, because Fields has struggled with it. We saw like when he played Northwestern, he had a very down game. And then you see the Clemson game where he looks like he could be the best quarterback in this class. And then the Alabama game in the national championship, he doesn't look as good. He's just kind of inconsistent. He's not very great under pressure, which is another common theme for those kind of guys that are mobile and all that stuff. But Wilson, what he gives you is more consistency. He gives you better deep accuracies, better under pressure. But they both pretty much bring the same kind of things to the table in terms of arm strength and throwing on the run outside of structure plays.
Yeah, I mean, at times, from what I've seen, I prefer Fields in the pocket in terms of like what I think he'll be able to do at the next level. Again, obviously, the pressure and consistency is going to be a thing that he has to get over. He's kind of my QB2, but let me tell you, that second tier of quarterbacks, I still view Lawrence as his own tier. I know you have it a little closer, but 2 to 4, you rank those in any order, pick them from a hat. I don't care, because they are that close, and they are all top 5 worthy picks in this draft. Yeah. I would be shocked if any of them made it past number 7. And to be honest, I think 7's the floor. I think we can see 4 quarterbacks in the top 5 picks, which last time we've ever seen, I don't think we haven't ever seen that, actually, quite frankly. So
we've seen 3 in the top 3 before, but I don't think we've seen 4 in the top 5, which would be wild. And I think a lot of these teams are going to be jockeying for position because, I mean, we as fantasy players love these quarterbacks, and I'm fairly certain the NFL loves them for what they bring as well. So because every NFL head coach has a huge ego, right? They're like, oh, look at this guy with his tremendous athleticism and ability to throw on the run and arm talent and mobility and all this stuff. And they just think, okay, if I can just get this guy in the building, I can teach him how to be a quarterback. And it's not like any of these guys are like completely raw either. Even Trey Lance, who went to a small school, is pretty developed for a small school project quarterback. So all these coaches and GMs are going to be looking at these quarterbacks and like, man, like, look, we could turn these guys into like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like type quarterbacks that make spectacular plays week in and week out.
Sorry about that, by the way.
What?
I didn't even hear my alarm going off.
I didn't even hear it. So Javon says, who has the first pick for 2021?
Well, with this year's draft?
I'm guessing he means in the draft. So that's that would be the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they're going to pick Trevor Lawrence if maybe there's some controversy around who they should pick. It's Trevor Lawrence. I know he's having shoulder surgery, but he's the safest quarterback in this draft, given the fact that he's been starting for like 3 years. He's a high school recruit. He has, from all people that have actual connections to his personality, he has the prototypical like leader, toughness, like all the stuff that you want to see in a franchise quarterback. So he is, if for those of you who have watched Draft Day, he's Bo Callahan from Draft Day. He's
he has no college
people that go to his birthday party or whatever the case was for that guy.
Yeah. Okay, so we got actually a $1.99 super chat from Lamar Gaming. You can show on the screen. I appreciate that a ton. He says, rank these guys in Dynasty: DK, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. Personally, these guys are all so similar in their outputs. I'm fine with ranking it by age. So at this point, Justin Jefferson, DK, AJB is how I would have it.
That's not how I would have it personally. Currently in my Dynasty rankings, I have it AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf.
And that's fine. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm still going to take DK over AJB because I still think Russ and Tannehill, same age, they're going to both be long-term answers. That's the one big question mark I have with
I imagine what your thought process is that like Tannehill is not as good as Russ, but statistically,
no, that's not what I mean. What I'm saying is like neither of them should face any turmoil at the quarterback position. That's what I meant by that.
And both guys are super efficient, dude. And neither guy has really even reached their ceiling, in my opinion.
Tannehill's a fringe top 10 quarterback. I'd never talk slam on him.
Yeah,
like he's really good. But I personally would have it Justin Jefferson, DK, AJB, but quite literally, they're all top 8 or so Dynasty receivers.
I think they're all my top 7 or 6.
Yeah. So
I think AJ Brown might be wide receiver like 3 for me in Dynasty rankings.
Yeah. So there you go. I personally got it J-Jeff, DK, AJB. Bush has it AJB, Justin Jefferson, and then DK. So appreciate the $1.99 super chat as well, Lamar.
Yep. Yeah. So this trade, I mean, it's gonna be interesting how it plays out. We've talked about it on a couple occasions now. Matt Stafford going on to the Rams. I'm not really sure. I could see this working out like really, really well for the Rams, and they have like one of those like explosive offenses like they had a couple years ago when Jared Goff was playing really well, and maybe even to a greater degree than that. But you know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Carson Palmer going to Arizona with a guy who was in with a bad franchise like Detroit. And he was on a team that wasn't winning, like the Bengals weren't winning with Carson Palmer. And then he had some back issues, which also Carson Palmer had. And he had some knee issues, which Carson Palmer had. And then he goes to a team that has an offensive mastermind like Bruce Arians or Sean McVay. And they could be really competitive for a couple of years going forward with Matt Stafford. And he has the weapons to do so. He has a great young running back in Cam Akers. He's got 2 talented receivers. He's got 1 talented tight end and Tyler Higbee, an offensive line that gets kind of coached up beyond its talent. So, this could work out really good for the Rams. For as far as the Lions side is concerned, it's probably just Goff being a bridge quarterback, but who knows? Maybe he plays really well in Detroit, and maybe they hold on to him for a year or two if he's playing really well.
For sure, this is the ultimate buy low for Detroit as well, in the sense that you're going to move Stafford, getting Goff back and getting compensation for taking on the contract. Look, you got 2 1s in the 3 plus Goff. Without Goff in that deal, what do you get? Maybe a 1 and a 3. I think honestly that first is to compensate for Goff's contract in the quarterback downgrade. So in this scenario, you're basically getting Goff for free. You're getting a 27-year-old quarterback for the next 2-3 years is what his contract is.
Yep.
Yeah. So like worst case scenario, okay, cool. He takes up some cap. Best case scenario, he turns into your franchise quarterback, and you have him basically plus 2 1s and a 3 for a guy that you were never.
Like you said, worst case scenario, he's the guy that takes the beating behind your bad franchise and endures all the losing that you have to go through to get a successful rebuild going. Because Goff is, I mean, he's honestly kind of like a proven winner, to be honest, because he's won in the NFL pretty much every year he's been a starter. And a lot of that has to do with Sean McVay, but I'm sure he's contributing at least a little. So,
you're gonna be somewhat decent to get playoff wins in 3 of your first 4 years.
Yeah. He brought his team to the Super Bowl in his 3rd season. So he can't it is 1994 anymore. You can't go to a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer. Like he was playing really well in that season. He beat Kansas City that year in like a 55-point win.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, that was a great game. So Jared says Sewell dropping to the Bengals at 5 seems great for them. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't even think it matters, to be honest. I think the Bengals are going to get an offensive tackle at 5 no matter what, because I think Rashawn Slater from Northwestern is a legitimate top 5 type offensive tackle from everyone that I trust. Hey. I don't really watch offensive line tape myself, but everyone that I trust says that NFL GMs have him over Sewell, like some people have him over Sewell, and they expect him to go very, very high in the draft. So even if Miami were to take an offensive tackle at 3 or New York were to pick an offensive tackle at 2 or something like that, I still think they're getting one of Sewell or Slater at 5.
Let's not even sleep on Darrisaw too. Christian Darrisaw,
I've heard a lot of about Elijah Vera Tucker too. A lot of people are really in on him, and he might go like top 15. Which I mean, I think in our mock draft we had him in like the 20s.
This is an awesome offensive line draft overall, specifically tackles. There are like 10 to 12 starting caliber tackles in this draft, and when can you ever say that? Why is the league suddenly getting fucking tackle talent?
Well, they need them, so it's a good
thing. Like the last 5 years, the weakest position in terms of overall top end and depth is tackle. And now you got you see the 4 that came in last year. You got a bunch of guys coming in this year. Like these are going to be the staples of the tackle position for the next 10, 15 years in these last 2 drafts, which is insane to think about. We saw
a couple like a while ago with I think in 2011 was the draft that had all the offensive tackles.
Yes.
Tyron Smith. I think Teron Armstead was in that draft too. Trent Williams was in that draft. Like there was a bunch of huge.
Williams was drafted before, but yeah.
Yeah, there was just a lot of that. There was a couple-year run there. There was a lot of tackles that were drafted. I think Nate Solder was also in that draft too. There was an influx of offensive tackle talent, and we definitely have gotten it the last year, and then potentially this year as well.
Also, edges recently, the amount of young edges that are coming to the league. I still think of my I still think of the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders now taking Furl at 4 in a class that ended up having Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Montez Sweat, and Brian Burns, and they ended up with Furl out of that.
Yeah.
By the way,
Josh Allen was on the board.
Yeah. By the way, Mike Mayock, I'm sorry. I love your little draft show you had on NFL Network. How do you still have a fucking job? Because your drafting has been fucking ridiculously bad. His drafting has been so bad since he took over.
I'm not gonna bag on the Ruggs pick, but I mean, a lot of his drafting has been okay. I think what he's doing is he
hasn't hit on any real top end picks.
I mean, top end picks, yeah, for sure. He's hit on some late rounders, but
you gotta hit on your first.
When you're watching the Raiders games, that they always talk about like John Abram as like a great safety.
He's awful.
He's not good. And they always talk about him like he's good, like on broadcast.
He's one of the worst safeties in the league statistically. Like his coverage ability is just not there. He's a glorified enforcer. Like
yeah, I know what you mean.
Like you remember like LaRon Landry at the end of his years, where he was literally just like running around tackling and just hit big hits on people, and he wasn't doing anything else.
Yeah,
that's basically what Jonathan Abrams was doing, and he's like 25.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, I need one of you to go back and find my hot take about Justin Jefferson.
God, yeah.
First, out of all the rookies, yeah, you were on him. I really like Jefferson too. So I probably at the time I probably was like, yeah, I could see it happening. I wouldn't bet on it, but I could see it happening because Jefferson in a situation where there was a lot of vacated production from Stephon Diggs. And I think what we had said before the season, we're like, I don't expect a rookie to come in and take away the Stephon Diggs role. But I mean, he basically did that and more. So that's probably a testament to how good Jefferson is.
Yeah, I think I had him my wide receiver 3, so I'm like obviously I didn't have my 1, but my guy that I did have at 1 still had a good rookie year, so I'll take it. But
my guy did not, unfortunately, and the guy had it too didn't really have a good year either. So, yeah, for
sure. We'll wait for more.
That wide receiver class is going to be interesting to look back on. I think the same is going to be true for this class too, this upcoming class, because we see Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Rashod Bateman, and these top end guys, Jaylen Waddle, everyone seems to have kind of a different wide receiver 1. And it's a little bit different than last year because I think for the most part, everyone either had Lamb or Judy as their 1 last year. And then there was people like me who had Ruggs as their 1. Some people had like Jalen Reagor as their 1 or something like that.
Imagine.
I mean, there was people out there that did that. So I think this year, there's going to be a lot more variance. And I know, especially at like wide receiver 5, I think maybe for the most part, people are going to have the same top 4 in some order. But at wide receiver 5, I think is where it's going to get just wild. Like some people are just going to have some crazy takes about wide receiver 5 this year.
Sneak peek at the boy Elijah Moore.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's incredible. And like there's going to be a lot of people that have, I don't know, like Seth Williams at wide receiver 5. A lot of people that have Rondale Moore at wide receiver 5. A lot of people that have a bunch of guys that nobody's heard of. Like I've seen a lot of Diami Brown at wide receiver 5 love.
Seth Williams is complete garbage. Why does he just get hyped up?
I don't know.
He's garbage. Like he's terrible. Watch him versus fucking South Carolina and watch fucking JC Horn take his lunch money. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, if JC Horn's the first round corner that everyone thinks he's going to be, that's good.
But like, still, you can't create any separation on any of your routes. Like this is in the NFL, you're going to be playing guys like JC Horn on every Sunday. How are you not creating any type of separation? It was awful. It was terrible. But yeah, fuck. That was.
Yeah, I saw Pat McAfee tweet out this morning that he bet like $150 on like a knockout in round 3 or something like that, or whatever the end result of the fight ended up being, and he won like $3,000 on it, whatever it was. So I mean, I don't think Pat McAfee's struggling for money anyway, so not sure that it matters much. But yeah, I'm not really a big boxing or UFC watcher. I watch like the big ones, and that's about it.
Oh, I'm a huge avid watcher, so yeah, I watched the fight, and yeah, it was pretty bad. So there you go. Lamar, best quarterback next year besides Mahomes. Are we talking fantasy or real life?
If we're talking fantasy, I'll take your boy probably. I'll probably take Lamar too if we're going off of fantasy. So I mean, I'm just going to take this question and like who's going to break out for fantasy next year at the quarterback position. That's not bad. Yeah. So Jared says bold take Burrow. I I mean, I don't hate it. I don't know if I would bet on him coming off of a torn ACL. Still, we'll have to see what they do around him in the offseason. If they add a lot of offensive line talent, maybe some more receivers and stuff like that, I could definitely see it. Burrow is no short of talent. I'm actually going to go with Justin Herbert. I think that's potentially the guy that could break into that elite quarterback, because the quarterback position, some people will make the argument one way, some people will make the argument the other way, that once you're in the league, the teams have tape on you and they know how to like stop you now. Because I have heard that take related to Justin Herbert, and that is very possible. It kind of happened to Jimmy Garoppolo the one year that he was a starter, but
the only difference is one has a cannon and one has a noodle.
Yeah, exactly. Justin Herbert has like the physical talent, and if he has like, it really just comes down to like intangibles at this point. Because like if he's willing to like put the work in the offseason and get better in areas that he wasn't as good in, you could see a guy have a season like what Josh Allen had this year, where he comes out and is just phenomenal throwing deep with better accuracy. And it's not even like he was struggling in some of these areas, but building upon that rookie season, if he puts the work in, he could definitely enter that second tier of fantasy quarterbacks, and honestly, second tier of real life quarterbacks too.
For sure. A guy that
is on for that. So
I'm actually curious to see if this guy gets a starting gig. What about your boy Jameis?
I could definitely see him being like a
top 5 or so.
A top 5. Like, I don't know if that's going to ever happen for real life quarterbacks.
No. Fantasy.
If he could finish as a top 5 fantasy quarterback, if he landed, I don't know, with the Colts, or if he landed with the Bears and they still had Allen Robinson or something.
If he stayed with the Saints, I think he'd do that. If we knew he was a starter on the Saints with Kamara, with Thomas, with one of the better offensive lines in the league, I think he could do that.
I mean, you still got to think that Taysom Hill is going to be used in his Taysom Hill ways.
He can have goal line rushes. I'd
rather Jameis be on another team, to be honest. If he was on, I think the Bears is a great fit for him. If he was, if
they have no cap, bro.
Stay, obviously, so
they have no cap regardless. So I doubt it.
Fair enough.
Pittsburgh makes sense. Maybe.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's the dream landing spot for Jameis, because he's basically a lot of people compared him to Ben Roethlisberger coming out of school, so that makes a lot of sense.
There you go. But my take for that Lamar is going to be young number 4 from the Dallas Cowboys. I'm telling you right now, I know I said this last year. He ended up snapping his freaking ankle. I couldn't have predicted that, but the pace he was on, he was a top 3 MVP candidate before he got hurt. If he plays 60 next year, I think he's getting it.
I mean, you got to win games to win MVP.
Oh yeah. Don't worry. We'll see what happens opening night when we play y'all.
We're not going to play you opening night.
Well, we could, honestly. I heard there's buzz around that.
I mean, I want to play the Saints opening night.
That's fair.
Last year, I didn't want to play them opening night because we had a new quarterback and like no offseason and stuff. So I was like, this year I want to play them opening game and shut them up again.
Fair. That should be a fun week going into that Cowboys vs. Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, not really. We're just going to beat you.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think, honest to God, I think we could have an 0-7 Patriots like season next year. If we're able to retain all of our guys that we had this year, I don't think the transition for chemistry and all that stuff is going to be there like it was for the first, 8 to 10 weeks this season. So they might come in playing the way they were playing in the playoffs this past year.
Okay, if you guys are going to be the 0-7 Patriots, we'll just be the 0-7 Giants.
Yeah, go 9-7 and barely make the playoffs.
Yeah, and then win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I'll take that. If 9-7 means winning the Super Bowl, I'll take that any day of the year, any day of the week.
Yeah, okay. So Lamar says Deontay Johnson is the next 2019 Godwin, 2020 Ridley. Yeah, so I mean that makes a lot of sense. I think Deontay Johnson is going to be a very popular guy for that type of ascension as a fantasy asset, because the roadmap is there, right? Especially if Juju Smith-Schuster leaves in free agency, he's going to have the vacated production argument that we had for Calvin Ridley. He's going to have that same argument that we had for Chris Godwin 2 years ago. So I think, that makes a lot of sense. There's probably a number of other candidates that could fit the 2019 Godwin, 2020 Ridley description as well. Last year, I said before the season, I was like, I don't think the 2019 Godwin is Calvin Ridley. I thought it was AJ Brown. And I mean, they both ended up.
It was both.
Yeah, it was literally both. I thought AJ Brown was the guy that was going to make. I think Godwin finished wide receiver 2 the year that he broke out in points per game, and I think AJ Brown finished in the top 7 or 8 wide receivers last year. So there's definitely a lot of receivers in that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round range that there was pretty much the same thing last year that are going to be on that path to break out into elite status.
100%. Yeah. Ooh, sorry.
You need to get some more sleep, dude. You've yawned like 30 times now.
Yeah, I yawn a lot, but yeah, Deontay Johnson is going to be a stud yet again. And as you mentioned,
he
if
can hit the
gone,
jug machine before the season, though.
Yeah. I don't understand receivers that don't know how to catch the ball. It's like, yeah that's your job. That's your literal job.
Knowing how to catch the ball, a huge early bounce back candidate for next year is Jerry Judy. I seriously think he could be phenomenal next year.
Yeah, I agree.
I've seen a lot of not a lot of people, but I've seen someone make the second year in the offense argument for already, and I already had kind of teased this right after the season.
Well, I mean, we argued it in our lessons learned video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but for the Denver Broncos, right away, someone made that argument. The second year in Pat Shurmur's offense could be huge for the guys involved, for Fant, for Sutton, for Jerry Judy, and I think
Gordon.
The arguments I made for Jerry Judy going into the season about being the kind of Adam Thielen role of the Vikings offense a number of years ago, I think that still applies. To be honest, I just think Jerry Judy had a bit of a rougher transition than I thought he would. To the
NFL. Are we acting like 850 yards with Drew Lock is a terrible rookie season? Why are people?
And it wasn't even Drew Lock the whole year.
100%. We had Kendall Hinton.
And please give him James Winston.
We had Kendall Hinton who completed one pass in a whole game.
Yeah, literally. Let's give him Jameis Winston. Honestly, a guy who's thrown for 5,000 yards in his career. Yeah, he's going to turn the ball over, but he has a good enough defense and he has good enough weapons around him. Just give him Jameis Winston. For the love of God.
Hey, heck, you're not winning. Just give him a fun guy to play with.
Yeah, exactly. Jameis Winston is the year that Lamar won the MVP and Jameis threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions and 5,000 yards. I will seriously argue that Jameis Winston was the second most exciting quarterback to watch in the league that year behind Lamar Jackson.
So, yeah, I mean.
Because, on any given play, you didn't know what he was going to do. He threw 8 pick sixes. He could either throw a pick six or a long touchdown. It was no in between that year.
How did he manage to throw 8 pick sixes?
I mean, that's on the tackle of the offense.
But it's just funny.
Yeah, man. It is wild. He threw a lot of bad out routes. I remember against San Fran in the first game, he threw a pick six where he had Peyton Barber running an out route. And he had Richard Sherman in coverage. And it was why are you throwing to Peyton Barber with Richard Sherman?
Mismatch, bro.
Yeah, literally a mismatch for the defense.
But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, how about all those Tampa fans going into the season were I'd rather have Jameis Winston than Tom Brady.
Dude, they're still there.
How?
You just won the Super Bowl, and you think your fan base is stupid? There's some stupid people in every fan base, and there's a segment of Bucs fans that think that Jameis Winston would have won the Super Bowl with this team as well. They're Tom Brady is lucky because he came in when the roster was the best that it's ever been, and that's true. It's definitely the best it's ever been in Jameis Winston's tenure this year, but Jameis Winston wouldn't have won the Super Bowl this year. He probably would have made the playoffs, but he wouldn't have won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That
I agree.
It's probably where we lose the divisional round with Jameis Winston.
Agreed. Okay, so Lamar asks a dynasty question. He says, who wins? Marlon Mack, Rager, Tim Patrick, 108, and 2022 1, or Gibson? Is this a super flex rookie draft? Is my main question.
Why?
First of all,
quarterback at the 1-8?
I'm just saying hypothetically. I know right here from that offer, Mac and Patrick are just fill-ins. I don't value them more than a third or fourth round rookie pick, which is nothing in the trade.
I think the way that he's asking this trade is that it's either or. It's 2022 1 for all that stuff or Gibson for all that stuff.
No. I'm saying I think that's the package.
Do
you prefer that package or do you prefer Gibson?
I will take that over Gibson personally because at the 1-8, I think you can get Javonte Williams.
Yeah, and I agree.
And that's a 2022. If it was just the 1-8 and that's Javonte Williams plus a 2022 1, I think I would take that for Gibson straight up. Plus you're getting who you could potentially hold and see if he develops or just ship him off on the name cachet and the first round draft capital that he still has. I actually do Tim Patrick and Marlon Mack are just throw-ins to me, but
Patrick's not terrible.
If the 1-8 is Javonte Williams or potentially one of the quarterbacks, and then you have a 2022 1 that could, even if it's a late one, I still think I would value that.
I've seen mock drafts that actually have Etienne or Harris falling at the 107, 108 spot.
That's wild to me. Yeah. I know quarterbacks are valuable for Superflex. He did say it was Superflex in the next part right here. So I don't think you could get a quarterback with that 1-8 pick if it's a super flex. Maybe you could if people are down on Wilson or Lance or Fields, like one of the three guys.
Worst case, that's like Chase, Smith, Williams.
Yeah, I think at minimum you're getting Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, or Javonte Williams with that.
Yeah, I would do that as well. And you're getting that
even Wilson or Lance.
And you're getting that 2022 one and Jalen Reagor, who's probably got what at this point high to mid second round value. Like he's probably in this draft alone, he would probably actually would be the 201 or 202.
Yeah, I would say you could probably flip Jalen Reagor still for an early second round pick.
Yeah.
And let's not pretend like Gibson's bulletproof right now, because Gibson is in a situation where his offensive line isn't very good. They don't have a quarterback right now. Like they only have Terry McLaurin to take away attention from him. And not only that, but Gibson didn't have a 3-down role last year. He was basically just a 2-down runner because J.D. McKissick, for the most part, took the 3-down or the 3rd down snaps away from him because he could pass protect and Gibson couldn't, which makes sense because he played wide receiver in college. But hopefully the only way Gibson gets to that point of being a 3-down player is getting better in pass protection, and that's not a guarantee to happen.
Yeah, no, 100%. But just looking at this, that's a really good value trade in my opinion. Like if you're trying to sell high on Gibson, you're getting the 108, who's obviously I prefer Gibson to the 108 straight up. But again, one of those running backs, quarterbacks, or receivers, or heck, if you want to go bold, go tight end, Kyle Pitts, is going to be not there, but similar to a degree that getting that extra first and getting a chance on a guy like Reagor, I think is definitely worth that. So, I like that deal on the left side.
Yeah. I think even if it was just the 1-8 plus a 2022 first, I think I would even consider that. I don't think I would do it for Gibson at that point, but it'd be really close.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. But getting that Reagor is a nice little cherry on top.
Reagor especially is the interesting piece there, just because he has a lot of name value, especially for those people that were really high on him coming into the draft last year.
100%. Even if he's just
the way
a flip.
I look at Reagor is probably the same. The way I look at Ruggs is probably the same way some people look at Reagor, right? So they're probably like, oh yeah, like this guy just had some injuries in his rookie year. He had some bad quarterback play, which is exactly kind of how I look at Ruggs, mostly just injuries and like usage wise. So I would still give up personally like a mid-second, early second for Henry Ruggs. So I would assume there's some people that would give up the same type of pick for Reagor.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at it too, people don't like giving up on guys that they had at the number one. Case in point, look at where N'Keal Harry was going in drafts last year.
Yeah, he was like a 9th round pick still.
Yeah. So that just goes to show you that, like, even if you don't like Reagor yourself, you could flip him for like the 201, 202. Like, someone's going to take that because that's how the people are.
Okay, so we have someone in here that has pre-ordered our draft guide. So we'll give you this announcement right now, Spicy Hot. After we're done with this live stream, we're going to be sending out an email basically saying that we are releasing a number of the big name players. So because you have already purchased our draft guide, and we appreciate you for that, we will be sending you your login. You can log into our site directly, and you can read all the big name guys, the Rashod Batemans, the Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams,
Trevor Lawrence,
Najee Harris. All 4 quarterbacks, like all of those guys will be up. Kyle Pitts, all those articles will be up, plus a number of other receivers, Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Terrence Marshall, a lot of those guys, Terrace Marshall. Sorry, I always call him Terrence.
Yeah, no, you do.
Yeah, it's so normal to say that. So after this live stream, Spicy Hot, we will be sending you an email out. So just be on the lookout for that. And for those of you that are in here, don't know what we're talking about, head to the link in the description. You can watch the video about what's in our draft guide and maybe potentially make a pre-order for that too, because there's some pre-release articles as we just mentioned.
Yep, for sure. But yeah, Corey basically covered all of that. Make sure you go check. When will the raffle be for the league?
Oh, okay. So when the raffle will be for the league is when the pre-orders are over. So and it's going to be a numbers thing, right? So if we only get 10 pre-orders or 7 pre-orders or something like that, and the pre-order time is over, then all people that pre-ordered it will be in the league automatically, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a numbers thing. But if we get 20 pre-orders, then we'll hold a raffle.
100%. So it just comes down to a numbers thing. And my timers are literally the most annoying thing ever. Sorry about that.
You have to hit stop. You can't.
I do. It doesn't fucking work, man.
Why do you need timers to wake up at 12:36? Oh
no, I have timers like from 6 a.m. to 12. It's crazy.
Why?
Like every like 10
so
minutes.
Every day you have to keep shutting those off?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I would. Oh,
no. Let me see here. Wait.
Yeah, dude, you need to that is wild.
That's not even done.
Appreciate that, Jared. You said I'll be pre-ordering today. We'll
appreciate that, Jared.
I appreciate that. And as I mentioned, you'll be able to read all those articles once you pre-order. We'll send you your logins and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and it's not just player profiles that are going to be in this draft guide. There's going to be video content in there. There's going to be research notes in there for some of the paid resources that we have access to that maybe you guys don't, that you'll be able to take advantage of. You guys can do your own research, form your own opinions. You don't have to listen to everything that we say because, this is fantasy football. No one knows everything about fantasy football. We can make our best estimates and educated guesses and all that kind of stuff. So, but you'll be able to make your own opinions, basically using a lot of the information in our guide.
100%. And I usually can wake up most of the time. However, I have those timers too because I have workouts and stuff like that, so I know when to leave the house. So I do that as well. So again, no, I don't have a timer set up at 1 p.m. because I need to wake up, if that makes sense.
Okay, here we go. We got a really practical question here. We got Daniel Lawrence. Appreciate the question here. You got, who would you take at the 102 in a Superflex Dynasty League? My quarterbacks are Mahomes, Hurts, and Darnold. I need a running back more than a quarterback. My only quality running back is Jonathan Taylor. I also have the 107. Okay, so in my opinion, you need a second quarterback because you have Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously the surest thing in dynasty leagues at any position. So you're fine at your first quarterback spot. Jalen Hurts seems to have a starting job potentially opening up for him, but there's no guarantee. Carson Wentz hasn't been traded yet. And exactly. I honestly wouldn't be opposed to selling Jalen Hurts knowing that you have the 102 because people are very high on Jalen Hurts. There's people that I know that in the industry that have Jalen Hurts inside their top 10 quarterbacks. And if they're inside their top 10 quarterbacks, I'm sure you can get a high first-round pick back for Jalen Hurts.
You could probably get the 105, 106 for Hurts. And if you're telling me you can turn 102 into, again, out of the top 3 quarterbacks, the best landing spot in Fields,
Lance, I think that is how it's going to work out. Whoever lands on Carolina or San Fran or I don't know, whoever lands in the best landing spot for their skill set is going to end up being my 102. Currently, my 102 is Zach Wilson. But if Zach Wilson goes to the Lions, he's not going to be my 102.
Exactly. And for me, again, I personally have Fields as my second highest rated quarterback right now. But again, that's landing spot dependent. What I would do here, again, you take a quarterback at the 102. Whoever has the best landing spot, whoever you feel the most confident about, that's your own personal preference. Because to be honest, these 3 quarterbacks after Lawrence are all extremely talented. And if you can get again, the 105, 106 type for Hurts, and then turn the 105, 106 and that 107 you already have into Etienne or Williams and Devonta Smith, that's a smash.
And I think that's what I would do first. But if no one is biting on Hurts, for example, or something like that, what you also could do is take Najee Harris or Travis Etienne, whatever running back you'd like better, whatever one has a better landing spot at 102, and use your 107 to potentially maybe you need to move up. Maybe you gauge where your league is at and who needs what. And you think you could potentially get one of those quarterbacks at 107 as well. Because I do think there's a possibility that Lance or Wilson or Fields, whoever ends, probably not Fields, but Lance or Wilson could be there at 107 or at 105 or 106. And maybe you could move up with your 107 to get a quarterback then. Because 102, I think we both agree that these 2 running backs are really special. And 102, I have no problem with anyone taking a running back 102. So if you really want, if Najee Harris, for example, lands in a situation where it's just too good to pass up, it's like Seattle or Pittsburgh or something like that, he's a smash pick at 102. Especially if one of these quarterbacks don't land in Carolina or San Fran, in my opinion, 2 of the best landing spots for quarterbacks, if they all went to Atlanta, Detroit, and Denver or something like that. I guess Denver's a pretty good spot too. But there's a chance that there's no clear 102 at the quarterback position either, and you could just go running back in that case.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. Again, you're in an interesting spot. That the amount of draft capital is really nice.
You have Hurts and we didn't even mention Darnold, but Hurts and Darnold both carry some kind of hype right now just because of Darnold's potential trade that is probably going to happen. Or I don't know, maybe they show some faith in him or whatever. But if Darnold gets traded, I would hold Darnold until he gets traded personally.
Yeah, or the Jets build around him.
Yeah, or the Jets
either
build
scenario.
around him. I think his value can only go up from the lens of a dynasty player, not necessarily actual value, but his perceived value can only go up because if he gets traded to the Colts, his value is a first-round pick now.
100%. So, yeah, appreciate that, and you can go on.
Yeah, Spicy Hot says, "Can I promote my amateur dynasty league in here?" Yeah, you can promote your amateur dynasty league in here. Where do you think Watt's going to go? So JJ Watt, I mean, the popular answer, the cop-out answer is just to say Pittsburgh because TJ and Derek Watt, both of his brothers, already play there. So, I mean, that would make a lot of sense. No problem, Daniel. That would make a lot of sense to me for JJ Watt just to go to Pittsburgh because they kind of need a player of his skill set. They run the same type of defense in Pittsburgh that they did in Houston, so he would fit really well. Plus, he has his brother on the outside beside him. And I don't know, maybe he's at the end of his career. He probably is thinking, win a ring, play with my brothers. Like it'd be a super fun kind of time. So I think he's either ring chasing. Maybe he goes to Buffalo. Maybe he goes to Kansas City. Maybe he goes to Tampa. Maybe he goes to Green Bay. I don't know. But I think either ring chasing or going to Pittsburgh is the only two possibilities for JJ Watt.
Okay, I know it's a long shot because we don't bring in anybody that has a tag or has a high price tag. But in terms of a fit,
you guys aren't a ring.
No. Hey, relax, settle down. But let me tell you, okay, you get JJ Watt to play base the end in your first and second down packages across. No, but you can have him do that across from DeMarcus Lawrence, and then think of this third down package. You got Gregory and Lawrence on the edge. Okay, you got JJ Watt at 3 tech, and you got freaking Neville Gallimore at 1 tech. That pass rush is going to be eating people alive.
I mean, I think you believe more.
Don't sleep on Gregory.
Neville Gallimore
Gregory was one of the most efficient edge rushers in the league last year.
But I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence wasn't. So
what do you mean? What? He was like one of the top 3 in like every significant stat measured by PFF. He was I think he was the 3rd overall graded edge rusher in the league last year, but nobody wants to admit it because he's only got 6 sacks. Like that's everybody's base for benching him.
Dude, trust me, people did it in Tampa too. It's like we can't re-sign Shaq Barrett. He only had 8 sacks. It's like, yeah, he was second only to TJ Watt in pressures.
Yeah. People don't know what they're doing.
I find it funny too because last year when he had 16.5 sacks, everyone was like, yeah, but he's not very high in pressures. It's like, why are we doing this like opposite thing every year? We have high in pressures one year, high in sacks in the other.
Yeah, no, for real. I don't know why they just can't happen at once so these casual fans can appreciate these players.
Yeah. Forgot to say thank you. Okay. Yeah, blue Gatorade was definitely I think I probably told you to bet on the colors of the teams, either red or orange. So because those were the 2 favorites, I believe. But blue is definitely, I think, was a good pivot bet because I think it was like, what was it, like 400, 500, 5-1 odds or whatever.
Dude, I don't know. My Bodog wasn't working. I didn't even place bets, but I was gonna actually throw $10 on the freaking color. That's pain. I would have made some good money on that, but happy for you that you did make money on it, and you're not a guy who can't figure out his freaking Bodog account. Like
the Bucks money line was free money, by the way. So, he got it at plus 600. He said for blue.
Yeah, that's elite.
All right, so Spicy Hot says he's starting a Dynasty League on Sleepers for people who are new to Dynasty. We have like 7 people so far, and it will be good to start learning about Dynasty, Discord, Spicy Hot Talk. Okay, so I'm sure all of these people, most of the people in this Dynasty League are in our Discord. So if you guys want to join our Discord, it's in the description of this video. Right now, you can go link into the Discord and join that and potentially
I'll link that real quick.
League or just come in and talk about Dynasty and fantasy football all the time.
Yeah, I'll link the Discord in for people who aren't already in it. Just give me a second. Copy link. Okay, it should be there. I'm just gonna pin it. All right, so the pinned message, you guys can click that, and it should work. Wait, is it showing?
No, not for me. It's not. It's in the description of the video.
Yeah, regardless. Oh, it should be showing now, maybe. Can you not see it?
No.
Okay. It's on YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Right there. Anyone who's in here is not in the Discord, they can go ahead and join that. Talk football all the time. Join some leagues with like-minded people in there. Spicy Hot says I tried to do a parlay, but you can't do sports oils in Texas. Sports oils?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
That sounds hot.
You can't sports bet in Texas, if that's what you're trying to say here. Yeah, there's ways around it. You technically can't do it in Canada either, but
really,
sports books. Okay, that's what he's saying. Yeah, Canada sports betting is not actually legal.
So how are we doing it?
There's ways around it.
Oh, I just okay.
Like Bodog's like an offshore like VPN or something that they use to like for betting.
Damn. Okay, that's legit.
Sports books. Yeah, jeez, my phone's up. Yeah. Literally, I also
sports oils
finger all the time when I'm texting, so it's understandable.
Sports oils.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All right. We'll probably head out of here in the next couple minutes. So if you guys have any other questions, Dynasty, rookie, off the wall, not even related to football, go ahead, fire them away. We'll do our best to answer them. Daniel will probably have to shut off like 3 or 4 more alarms in that amount of time.
Let me check if any are going. Let me see. Okay, so there are none scheduled, so we should be okay.
You know, I have 1 alarm, right?
Yeah, I'm a heavy sleeper, bro. I'm like a dead sleeper.
But like the alarm keeps going if you don't shut it off.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
At least for a while. I don't know. But I would have bet on Tyreek actually getting yards, so I guess it's good. Yeah, I actually would have told you, if we did a DFS show or something for the Super Bowl, I would have said don't put Tyreek in your lineup because he is literally the biggest fade I've ever seen in my life, because all the Bucs defense, the Bucs coaches, all they talked about all week was stopping Tyreek Hill. So there's no way that Tyreek was going to have a massive game in this one. I was like, yo, this is the Kelsey game. Like MVP slot needs to be Kelsey because it's not going to be Tyreek.
Yeah, fair. What other receiver even did anything? Like Antonio Brown? Like the receivers are kind of disappointing.
It was honestly a tight end show. It was the 2 tight ends. That's pretty much the bulk of the passing volume, and then Fournette, really.
Oh yeah. Well, why was Fournette actually like good?
I don't know, man, but I am kind of glad he was, because then he's not on the team next year, because he probably played himself out of a low end contract with us into a bigger contract with another team. I think me and Lucas talked about this with Fournette. The best case scenario is that he goes somewhere where he doesn't ruin anyone else's fantasy value. So go to Buffalo. Go to Buffalo.
No, go to Seattle.
No, there's no running back that anyone likes in Buffalo anyway. So if you go to Buffalo, you're not ruining anybody.
Yeah, but who do we like in Seattle? I guess
a landing spot for a different running back to land.
That's fair.
I mean, if Fournette landed there, he's an easy fade in drafts. So,
yeah, because he could get hyped up as the top 24 pick.
Yeah, because he stinks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I had Gronk in my MVP slot. Nice. Yeah, I know. I can't remember who it was. One of my buddies bet on Gronk first touchdown, and he won a lot of money on that.
Yeah, 100%. And we missed Jared. What? Oh, you're plus 600. Yeah.
We got you. Yeah, plus 600 for that. I think on our sports book that we use, Bodog that I use, the blue Gatorade was only like 450. So you definitely got better odds than I would have if I bet on it.
Yeah. Overhead tops. Okay. I don't think the offseason's overhyped.
I actually so I have kind of a take on this. I think the cap thing is kind of being over examined. I think people are like, oh man, the cap is going down. The cap is going down. Teams are going to have to cut big name players. I think there's so many ways around the cap. Like there's certain teams are just so screwed that they're going to have to do some things like the Saints and the Eagles. But teams that are like 20 million under the cap, like the Bears and like Packers and stuff, or 20 million over the cap, there's so many moves that you can do. You can go, if you're Green Bay, you can go to David Bakhtiari and be like, hey, we're going to give you your base salary for this year and a signing bonus if you sign this. And that frees up $10 million in cap space. Like my team does it all the time with Mike Evans, with Ali Marpet, with Levante David, with guys that have secured contracts on our team. We've been doing it for years. So there's really easy ways to maneuver the cap. I don't think the cap drop is going to be as big of an issue as people are making it out to be. It's going to be an issue for some teams, but it's not going to be too much of an issue league-wide, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, teams are going to find a way to fluctuate around this thing. They do it every year. But, yeah, I agree with that.
And you're going to see teams forego cap commitments until next year when the cap goes up, or the year after that. Like that's what the Saints and Eagles have been doing for years. Because
that's why they're 90 million over the cap.
That's why they're 90 million over the cap. But the reason they were doing it in past years was because they know that the cap goes up every year in most normal seasons. So it does make sense to forego some of your money to later years. But you can see from teams like Tampa who never do that you're in a much better cap situation year in and year out.
Yep, for sure. And Jared, I just saw the keeper question now. What ended up happening is YouTube, for whatever reason, hauled it under review. So it didn't show up on the screen, but I put it up. It should be good. Bush, if you scroll up a little bit, actually,
or the Gatorade stuff. I don't see it.
No. Okay, it's not showing up on the comment section on stream here, so I'll go quickly to YouTube and read it off. Okay, so he said, not a dynasty, but a keeper question. When would you take Pitts, knowing how shitty tight end is? Well, like if it's
how's that keeper question?
Well, I mean, you don't have a rookie draft in keepers, do you?
I don't think so. I think
no.
I mean, landing spot's going to be huge for Pitts. It's huge for every prospect, but for a tight end, where he gets drafted and where he lands is important, because I could see Kyle Pitts going in the top 10 of the NFL draft. I could also see Kyle Pitts falling to the back of the first round, not because he doesn't deserve to go there, but because he is a tight end. He's not a valuable position. And some of the tight end needy teams like the Patriots and the Cardinals have like edge rush needs and like quarterback needs, like way bigger, more important needs than a tight end. So there's a chance he falls in the draft. But I think basically what you have to decipher when you're looking at Kyle Pitts is how much ahead he is than the rest of the tight end class. And I think it's a pretty significant amount. So if we're talking strictly about the rookie class of tight ends, I think he belongs to be far and away ahead of all of them. When you're comparing him to the current veterans, I think if you're in a dynasty league, he's probably still a top 10 dynasty tight end, even though he's a rookie.
Probably like top 6 or 7, to be honest.
I can't put him that high just because he's probably going to have a year at least of transition because he's a tight end. It's a hard position to transition into. But
the reason I'm fine with putting him there is because the fall off from the elite to the average in fantasy tight end.
Okay, well, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Noah Fant or Kyle Pitts?
I'll take Pitts.
I'll take Fant.
Okay.
I think right after that kind of tier, though, is where I would take Pitts.
So that would be around 8.
Yeah, around 8 or 9, 10-ish areas where I would probably rank Pitts, because I can't take him over guys like TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, guys who have already experienced that slow transition to the NFL and are ready to break out now. Because I mean, as good as Kyle Pitts is, he is
awesome.
He'd be a super prospect if he just came into the NFL and lit it up right away. Because literally in NFL history, no tight end has ever done that, including like Rob Gronkowski and Travis Kelce.
I mean, Evan Ingram had a good year as a rookie, no?
No, Evan Ingram had second seasons.
No, Evan Ingram had a good year as a rookie, though.
Yeah, like a good year because he had like 200 targets, not because he was efficient on them.
Fair. All right, let's get into Spicy Hot. Did y'all see the news?
I think New England makes perfect sense for Derek Carr.
New England?
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you guys could get like a first plus for Derek Carr, I would do that yesterday and just take a quarterback or fucking heck.
Marcus Mariota for a year.
Hey, the Texans like their I mean, they messed up David, so why not take Derek? You could just send Derek and a few firsts and just go get Deshaun.
That'd be such a Texans move to trade for Derek Carr and trade away Watson and be like, yeah, we really like Deshaun, or we really like what we've done here at quarterback. It's like, no, you don't.
God. All right, Dustin has his second part. With Will salaries drop for positions or an increase in holdouts, Nick Chubb going to be impacted by this? Basically what he's saying is with the salary drop for positions and an increased chance in holdouts, like how is Nick Chubb going to fare? Because obviously he needs his new contract.
Yeah. So let's look at the class, first of all, that would be affected by this. The 2018 draft class would be the class that is affected by potentially holding out because they're up for their contract. So that would be Nick Chubb.
Saquon.
Yeah, Saquon's a big one. Ridley and Moore were in that class, right? Ridley and DJ Moore. Yeah, so they could potentially be holdout candidates. Receivers, not as much. Usually it's running backs that hold out more. And those guys were first-round picks, so I'm not sure they would hold out because they have a fifth-year option. But I think Nick Chubb is the biggest one there because Saquon and Ridley and Moore were first-round picks, and all the other second-round running backs were kind of busts. I mean, Ronald Jones has been pretty good, but I don't think he would hold out.
What about Sony Michel?
Sony Michel was a first-round pick. Rashad Penny. Who else was in that class? Kerryon Johnson, Darius Geis, like these guys kind of suck already. So Nick Chubb is the only running back of note, surprisingly, that came out of that class. Because I thought that was a great running back class personally. I thought that was going to produce a lot of good running back talent to go forward. But
like 2017.
Yeah, Nick Chubb is definitely an issue potentially for holdout, especially because Kareem Hunt has a contract already on that team. He might look at that and be like, yeah, like why am I being underpaid when I'm the starter and Kareem Hunt's like my change of pace guy? So I think the Browns have ample cap to get a contract extension done with Nick Chubb, and I think they will extend him too because I think he's warranted an extension. But they are an analytics-driven like front office now, so there's a chance that they maybe want to try and play the franchise tag the running back game like Pittsburgh did. I honestly just think that's more of a distraction than actually paying the guy. Nick Chubb doesn't strike me as the type of guy that would hold out, but I mean, I still think he could potentially just to cause a stir, get his contract a little faster.
Or, you could just do the smart thing and take a running back in the third round every 4 years, use them up on their rookie contract, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hit on running backs to do that, though, and as easy it is for us to point at cases like Kareem Hunt and like Aaron Jones, who were late round running backs that hit.
Even average running backs will get you. Like we all know that like you don't need a crazy good running back because at the end of the day here, running back's the most dependent position on offense. If a running back does not have a lane to run through, a running back is not going to create.
Yeah,
it's simple. It's easy. So I mean, teams investing huge capital. My fucking team in particular, you can see behind me, paying a running back $15 million a year.
The only running back I would ever draft highly was the running back from Penn State that won the draft a couple of years ago. Like Saquon Barkley is a different animal. He's the only guy that I would have ever drafted in the top 10 picks at running back.
I wouldn't.
As freakish as Najee Harris is this year, as great as I think Travis Etienne is too, I'm not drafting them until the late 20s, early 30s, second round range. I think Najee Harris belongs to go in the top 15 based on his talent. Yeah. I think Travis Etienne belongs to go in the top 15 based on their talent, but they don't belong there based on the position that they play.
Exactly. I mean, heck, fucking even if you pick Saquon in the top 5, like, are you signing him to like a $16-17 million a year deal? Like, I would rather barf, to be honest. I'm not paying a running back that much amount in my cap.
I'd pay Saquon.
I would not. I wouldn't pay any running back.
Okay, look at I know there was like a stage where all the running back contracts sucked, like Todd Gurley and like David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell and even your own boy right there.
Even the new ones aren't even that great. Like, yeah, like even the ones that are having good years.
Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara got paid this past year. Dalvin Cook. I think Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Alvin Kamara were worth every penny.
I don't know, man. I
mean, we'll have to see what they do this year because they're probably still guaranteed money under their contracts and all that kind of stuff. But I think you only pay if you look at the guy and you're like, this guy's a top 10 to 12 running back in the NFL, I can warrant paying them. But if you're going to pay Tariq Cohen, for example, like the Chicago Bears did, then you're dumb as hell. Don't pay Tariq Cohen. Draft another Tariq Cohen in the 5th round.
Yeah.
If you're looking at Aaron Jones, for example, he's a perfect example of this because he's right on that fringe of like a top 10 running back. I think I would pay Aaron Jones if I'm Green Bay, but I'm only paying him 12, 13, 14 million. I'm not paying him $17 million.
Yeah, for sure. Spicy out. They don't like that you cuss, Jared. I'm just looking at this. I wouldn't mind Watson. Yeah, I'm sure you wouldn't mind Watson.
Yeah. I mean, the Raiders could make that happen. They have the kind of room to do it, but I think it's so hard for any other team other than the Jets and Dolphins to get Watson just because all they really have to do is like, look at how much stuff we have to give you. Like, it's not even an issue for them. I think if the Washington football team or the Raiders or the Patriots want Deshaun Watson, they got to give up like 3-4 first-round picks like for the next couple of years, right? Because all the Jets and Dolphins have to do is be like, we have 2 ones this year, 2 ones next year. If you want like 3 or 4 of those ones, that's all we can offer you. And I think any team would take.
Not to mention, that's including the 2nd or the 3rd overall pick as well. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Like just in this draft alone. So yeah, there's no reason for me to even like try and go after Deshaun Watson if I'm any of these teams, unless the Jets and the Dolphins are just being stingy with the assets that they have. I think they can outbid anyone easily because would you rather have the next 4 first-round picks from the Patriots, or would you rather have 2 first-round picks this year and 1 from the Jets next year, just knowing that they're the next 2 years?
For
and
sure.
And number 2 overall.
Yeah, no, I fully agree in terms of packages. Obviously, the Jets and the Dolphins have the most enticing offers to make. Getting into the next one, though, who would you take at the 103 and 105? Running back, quarterback, receiver. The Don, we actually released a rookie mock draft about a week ago from now.
On
It's
Monday,
on on Monday, yeah. So it's on the channel. You'll see that, where we basically walk through our whole first round, kind of our tiers, our top 12 overall players, and kind of saying, you know what, if we have the 102 to 106, these are the guys we're considering. If we have the 107 to 109, these are the guys we're considering. So we kind of break that down, but just to kind of give you
a Superflex perspective, just for the record, because if you don't play in a Superflex league, it'll change. But yeah, the way that we look at the tiers, the way that we look at the players is probably the more important part of that video, especially if you play in a single quarterback league. It's going to change, but the 103 is a perfect spot to be at, in my opinion. That pick is a great spot because I viewed the top 3 and 4 actually players in one tier. And I believe you're just Trevor Lawrence is the first tier.
Yeah.
But even the 103 and 105, you should be able to get with that 103, one of the top 2 running backs. And with that 105 at minimum, you're going to be able to get one of those top quarterbacks if you play in a Superflex league. And if you don't play in a Superflex league, you should be able to get one of the top 2 running backs or a top 2 receiver.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention, I mean, say it's a Superflex. Even if, like, I know actually, never mind, that can't happen because you have the 3rd overall pick. But if 3 of the top 4 quarterbacks go in those first 4 picks, guess what? You end up with Etienne and Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if one of them goes with one of those running backs, guess what? You get one of the quarterbacks. So it's all balancing out. Like either way, like those 2 picks are going to be legit for you. And I'd be pretty damn excited. I know Corey mentioned the top 4 in the tier. I actually have it. Lawrence is my 101. He's in a tier of his own, as you guys can see in the video. I have 102 to 106 all in the tier. So basically what that's saying is if someone has the 107, 108, and you could package like, if you offer someone, okay, I'm the 107. I'll offer you the 107 and a 3rd round pick, like a 3rd round or rookie draft pick, and move up like 1 or 2 spots. People are going to look at that and going to be like, oh, whatever. I'm moving back 2 spots and getting a 3rd. But in reality, here, you're moving up from, I don't know, Kyle Pitts and ending up with Najee Harris. Let's just say hypothetically,
yeah, or Trey Lance or Zach Wilson.
Exactly. So thinking in tiers is gonna be your best bet to getting ultimately the most overall value. So that's how I view a lot of it. Again, like even in startups, if I know, okay, I'm picking at the 110, but I value a guy here at 206, probably similarly. Well, guess what? If I can take 206 and his 6th round pick, like I'm going to take that deal any day of the week.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Understanding player values, understanding that sort of concept rather than just a player itself. Because the thing in Dynasty specifically, you want to accumulate value more so than just accumulate names.
Yeah, so, and I think when you think of the actual NFL draft, the way that teams draft is they stack their board based on need to some degree, but it is generally best player available for most teams. And I think that's a better philosophy that Dynasty players need to make a little bit more prevalent as well, because a lot of the time we just look at our teams and we're like, I need a running back. I'm picking the next running back. But if I was at 107 and I don't need a quarterback and Trey Lance is on the board, I'm not picking Javonte Williams over Trey Lance because I think Trey Lance is going to be a special fantasy quarterback. And even if I have Josh Allen, Justin
Patrick Mahomes,
and Tom Brady on my team, I have 3 startable quarterbacks already. I would still take Trey Lance and hold him for this season, use him when I can. And Tom Brady's older, obviously, so maybe I just slot him into my 3rd quarterback right after that. Or what if he pulls a Justin Herbert, wins Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he's suddenly a 1st or 2nd round startup pick next year?
100%. And look at it like this as well, okay? Even though you don't need a position, I mean, Bush knows I do this all too well. Even though you personally don't need that position, taking them to gain an advantage on the market.
A quarterback in a Superflex league.
Taking them to get an advantage on the market, again, as you mentioned, as a quarterback in a Superflex league, is vital. So, like, if you have 4 or 5 startable, like, good 1st, 2nd tier type quarterbacks on your team, there's one guy who's panicking, oh, I only got one decent starter in the draft, I don't know what to do. Guess what? That 3rd round price
I'm not a fan of doing what you're talking about right now, where you just hoard quarterbacks and try and hold people at gunpoint to get a quarterback from you. I don't like doing that personally. I understand the logic behind it. I would only do it with like 3 or 4 quarterbacks. I wouldn't do it with 5 or 6.
it's taking advantage of the market at the same time, though. So I understand it is risky because you're under the risk or under the assumption that, oh, well, someone's just going to be salty at you at that point and probably want to go somewhere else. At the same time here, in the Superflex league, quarterbacks are going to go down. People aren't going to have as many quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are like Bitcoin.
I think I started Nick Mullins like half the season in one of my leagues.
Yeah. See, so yeah, we can get into the next couple questions.
So Dustin, if you're new to this, I encourage you to join the Discord if you're not already in there, because you can get plenty of advice from us anytime. Or if you want, just continue tuning into these every Sunday. We'll be live every Sunday, and you can ask us any questions that you have then. So appreciate the questions. We had some lengthy discussions about them, and hopefully we can coach you through this.
For sure. By the way, the pinned message on YouTube should take you straight to the Discord. So if you click that, join that Discord.
Free, by the way, we didn't mention that. It's free. You don't have to pay anything.
Yeah. Fully free.
Matt says, Superflex PPR, what side of this trade would you rather have? Joe Burrow and Zach Moss, or Carson Wentz, Antonio Gibson? I don't even have to read the picks.
Yeah, Gibson.
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah, so Joe Burrow is the best asset in this trade. Let's be clear about that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If it's a Superflex league. Actually, it is a Superflex league. You did say it was.
So basically, basically what how I view it is Joe Burrow versus Gibson, and those two late seconds are probably about equal value. I would probably actually go with Gibson in that instance.
Yeah, I would too.
And then you got a chance on Carson Wentz instead of giving up an RB 35 perennially.
Zach Moss
easily.
Yeah.
So I really like that trade for the right side there. The Wentz, Gibson, and the 2 picks there. Even though I love Burrow.
Second is a good spot to be in this draft as well. Late second, maybe not so much, but I think the mid second is more of a sweet spot too.
Elijah Moore.
Potentially get a guy like Elijah Moore, potentially a Terrace Marshall. Maybe whoever your running back 4 is, maybe like Kenny Gainwell or Jamar Jefferson or whoever it ends up being. I think that's about the range you can get some of those guys too. So the mid second, you could probably get a pretty solid player there as well.
Yep, for sure.
We got Animal Jr. and Danny. I mean, they kind of do look the same, so it is pretty funny.
Yeah. Except I'm just,
a freak athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, like that. Yeah, see? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know it's just a fucking arbitrary tweet, but it was so funny because, like, the leading rushers of the last 10 Super Bowls, the one that was the highest paid wasn't even a running back.
Rusher in this past Super Bowl? Leonard Fournette?
Yeah. $2 million.
Top 5.
Huh?
He went in the top 5 of the NFL draft.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm talking about in terms of salary.
I mean, if you get $2 million deal top 5 as a running back, you're probably top 12 at your position in salary.
No, but I'm saying breaking it down, $2 million in salary.
Yeah,
the highest.
His rookie if his rookie contract was the number that was on there, it wouldn't apply because that's how much he's actually getting paid.
But the Jaguars wouldn't be in the Super Bowl, so he wouldn't be on his rookie contract in the Super Bowl.
That's fair, I guess. Yeah.
But no, he's on a $2 million contract. The highest paid leading rusher of the last 10 years was making $2.5 million a year. Can you take a guess who it was?
Anderson. Oh, I thought that was a great guess. Was on the winning team of the last 10 years. So the first Super Bowl that this includes is the Giants over the Patriots in 2011.
Maybe? Sorry. The highest paid of them. My bad. Not the leading rusher. But he was a leading rusher in his game.
Okay. So the highest, and he was on the winning team.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it Marshawn Lynch?
Same team.
Same team. Oh, was it Eddie? No, not Eddie Lacy. Who was CJ Procise? I don't know. Who was the running back on that team?
Dude, it's not a running back. It's
Percy
Harvin. It's Percy Harvin.
Oh, that's funny as well.
He was the highest paid leading rusher of the Super Bowl in the last 10 years, and he was a receiver at making $2.5 million. But yeah, I'd pay all the.
CEH doesn't belong on that list.
No,
I'm sorry. I like CEH, but he ain't a top 10 running back. And honestly, neither are some of those other, maybe JT, but neither some of those other guys yet. They can get there, but they're not there yet. So I mean, Dobbins and Akers could very well be top 10 running backs after this season, Swift as well. But we'll have to see how their careers play out because Taylor is the only guy that I could confidently say potentially has a good chance of earning a second contract right now, just because of the way he's looked the back half of the season and the way his pedigree was coming out of Wisconsin too.
Yeah, fully agree. Probably soon.
Yeah, so I believe I don't remember exactly when the new league year starts, but they can't actually sign players like if free agency or whatever.
I think it's March 1st, bro.
It's like March 1st or March. Let me just look it up right now, honestly. You can't actually officially sign players that are free agents until then because technically they are still on their current teams until that point.
Yep.
New league year. Here, I'll just go to the next question here.
Perfect. Right on. Give me Chubb. Dobbins ceiling is what Chubb did last year. So I'll just take the guy that's proven it.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I stand on it too. I think Dobbins is capped also because he has Lamar Jackson in his offense to some degree. I don't think he's capped.
And Gus Edwards.
I don't think J.K. Dobbins is ever a top 5 running back for fantasy because of what Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards bring that he also brings, but they don't seem willing to give him like a 70, 80%, 90% workload because of those other guys, obviously.
Yep. And then we got Craig here. Can you click into that?
First day for teams to designate. Hold on. Legal negotiating window starts March 15th for free agency. So they can't actually be like free agency signings until March 15th because the franchise tag window is like the end of February to early March as well.
Yep. So we got Craig. Just covered you guys. Appreciate or watching you breaking down rondale as we speak. Appreciate that, Craig. Glad to see you found us. And leave your comments, leave your feedback, what you think, and what your thoughts on are of what we say. Sorry, I'm lost for words, but appreciate that.
Yeah. And if you're looking for more rookie content, as we mentioned in the description, you can check out the rookie draft guide, read 2 free articles for free. As I said, free. And and if you enjoy those, you can potentially order it if you find value in that. So Matt says, Superflex PPR, I made this trade in week 13. I got Cam Akers and Jaylen Reagor for 108, 309, and Jonnu Smith.
That's that. I would take Cam Akers over that straight up. So
you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would too, honestly.
Yeah. So
I mean, the only way that changes a little bit is if Jonnu Smith signs in like a great landing spot for free agency. And even then he's a tight end. So,
and regardless, in a non-tight end premium, I would prefer Reagor to him.
Really? You'd prefer Reagor to Jonnu straight up right now? I would.
At the tight end position,
close, but I wouldn't.
Because he's a tight end, yeah.
I just don't like Reagor that much. It has nothing to do with it. If you said Ruggs or Jonnu Smith, I would take Ruggs. And
that's why. So like in perceived value, if you could hypothetically flip Reagor for a high 2 right now, like that would be Cam Akers in like the 202 for that package. That's easily Cam Akers in my opinion.
Yeah. So on this point, one of the things that I'm really going to try and do this offseason is try and substantiate how much Lamar takes away from Dobbins, because it is going to be a very common conversation when we get to redraft season and we're starting to talk about J.K. Dobbins' outlook this year. A lot of people are just going to go, Lamar takes too much work from him. Like it's going to be a very simple, lazy narrative. I want to see how much it actually matters because
to quantify it.
Yeah. So like, I want to see how many running back carries are actually averaged under Lamar's tenure in Baltimore. I want to see how much goal line work is average. Cause again, we've all seen this. Lamar doesn't get that many rushing touchdowns for how much he runs the ball. They actually do use running backs in the red zone. It's not really a Lamar, just like he's not like Josh Allen or Kyler Murray where they just like run him into the end zone.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he runs the ball in between the 20s all the time. But I want to definitely be able to quantify how much Lamar takes from J.K. Dobbins.
Agree. What will AJ Dillon value PPR and what round is he going? Okay, if Aaron Jones is not on the Packers next year, AJ Dillon's probably going to be like a 4th round pick. I'm going to tell you that right now.
In startups or in redraft?
I'm talking redraft.
Okay, in redraft, I agree with you. In startups, I think he goes about the same range, but I think that's way too high for a startup for me on AJ Dillon. And I like AJ Dillon. I think he's a great runner, but they're going to either re-sign Jamal Williams or they're going to add a piece to take away pass catching work because AJ Dillon can catch the ball. He's capable of doing it, but he's not running routes. He's not running the routes that Aaron Jones ran.
Yeah, he's not splitting out wide. He's not running a freaking he's not running wheels. He's not running all that. Now, if he's getting his
check downs, that's about it.
Yeah, he could catch check downs. Do you think Lamar will still be drafted?
No,
I don't snowball way too high.
It's going to happen.
I think he'll probably be like a 5th round pick, and at that value, I would take him there.
I still think I would take him as the second quarterback off the board for fantasy purposes. And
if I get positive information on Dak's ankle, you know how I am. He's going to be my quarterback.
I mean, that's a conversation. I think people are going to take Josh Allen and Kyler Murray ahead of him next year. Lamar Jackson. Fair. And I mean, maybe there's some people that are willing to take Deshaun Watson, maybe even Justin
Aaron Rodgers
or Aaron Rodgers or something like that. There's a chance that Lamar doesn't come off the board until like the 5th or 6th quarterback. And I think what he gives you with his legs is just too valuable to take him that low, because he gives you virtually back-end RB1 numbers as a runner. So,
not to mention, he had some bad pause.
He had terrible matchups, and it's not like he's not going to for the Steelers next year either. But
I was about to say he had some bad touchdown regression affected his numbers from last year compared to the year before. I think that's going to find its way into the mean, because that's what numbers usually do, as we both know. So if that's the case, and we saw he was quarterback 7, quarterback 8 last year, and we know that's his floor because of what his rushing output is. Like, not to mention, I mean, Lamar at the beginning of the year versus Lamar at the end of the year, once he started hitting his groove, like, he was putting up numbers. And they're going to add to that offensive line.
If I was Baltimore, you know how hard I would be going after Allen Robinson, Kenny Golladay, and Chris Godwin in free agency? Like, ridiculously hard. Like, we saw what Stephon Diggs did for Josh Allen's accuracy. Imagine what Allen Robinson can do for Lamar Jackson's accuracy. And Lamar Jackson is already a threat with his legs and already can throw deep balls to Marquise Brown and throw in the red zone to Mark Andrews. If you give him a consistent target like Allen Robinson or like Chris Godwin or like Kenny Golladay, I think actually probably the first two would make a little bit more sense than Golladay, because he's more of like a jump ball guy. But separators like Robinson and like Godwin could just absolutely take his game to the next level. And I say it all the time, but Godwin's not going anywhere. So probably Allen Robinson.
Yep, agreed. I think that could be a nice pick if he drops lower in the draft due to injury.
He's going to drop.
He's going to be taken at the tail end of that. Like, I'll say tier 2.
Go the same range that he went last year. 5th,
which is a steal for the record. So Matt, I need the answer. Is that dynasty or is that redraft?
Rank my wide receivers for 2020. He was bringing up dynasty questions already.
Okay,
for 2021. So I would imagine he's saying it from a dynasty, but a redraft perspective, if that makes any sense.
Assuming that is dynasty, Robert Woods is the clear one for me.
Like, honest to God, I think you could sell a couple of those young receivers and get a serious piece. If you went to a contender that had, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a receiver off the top of my head, but maybe an older-ish receiver, like a 26, 27-year-old, like Mike Evans, for example. If you could go to a contender and go after Amari Cooper or Mike Evans, someone in that kind of range of receiver with Laviska Shenault and Denzel Mims as your selling points, those guys have more hype right now than is inconceivably possible, in my opinion, because Laviska Shenault obviously has Trevor Lawrence coming in, and Denzel Mims is honestly just getting hype for no reason. I'm not even sure why, but those guys are big time. Like, people are going to say it all off season. They're buy lows. It's like, well, everyone knows that they're buy lows, so they're not really buy lows. So those two guys, I would try and package. I personally would hold on to Jerry Jeudy because I really believe in him long term. But Jalen Reagor, Laviska Shenault, and Denzel Mims, I think I would try and package 2 of those guys for a more established wide receiver like a Chris Godwin or a Mike Evans or maybe even Kenny Golladay or something like that.
Regardless, those are in my opinion, those are the 3 bottom of the list that you had. Mm-hmm. Robert Woods is the clear top. Now, balancing youth and age, Cooks right now is a top 20 receiver when he plays. The problem that I kind of have right now is where's Watson going? And is Cooks going to be on the Texans long term? Because if he is and there's no Watson, what's his outlook in that situation? Like, it's bleak. Whereas Jerry Jeudy,
going to be a guy that's undervalued, though. I think people are just going to completely write him off, especially if
I'll take him at value every year. But
if Watson gets traded, no one's going to draft Brandon Cooks. Like, he is going to fall so far. Yeah. And I think he could be a guy that's a bit undervalued. But as far as, like, I see him as like a wide receiver 3 next year if Watson's not there. Yeah. If Watson's there, he's a wide receiver 2, like a pretty firm one. Robert Woods is always kind of like a high-end wide receiver 2. I don't think Matt Stafford affects his output all that much. I think it makes him a little bit more consistent. Maybe his touchdowns go up a little bit more. But I think he just kind of is a touch higher than what he normally is, from like a mid wide receiver 2 to a high wide receiver 2. So those guys, you have a lot of like potential for wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 production across your entire core. But I personally would try and go out and get a wide receiver 1 with some of your younger pieces, especially if this is a dynasty league you're talking about. If you can package Laviska Shenault and Denzel Mims for Amari Cooper, or those guys for Chris Godwin, or those guys for Kenny Golladay or Mike Evans, or Terry McLaurin or someone like of that kind of tier of player, you should be able to get that done. Maybe you have to add in like a 3rd round rookie pick or something like that. If it's a rebuilding team, they might be willing to accept that.
Yeah, for sure. So he did say it's Dynasty, and Spicy Hot said Galladay to Vegas. So
we predicted that in our wide receiver free agency preview. I think that makes a ton of sense. And
I agree.
That would really help out guys like Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards develop too.
Well, you got to get Deshaun Watson a weapon. So
yeah, exactly.
Here, let's get into the next one. Steven, he says, pick 5 for my keeper. Eckler. Okay, so Barkley, Eckler.
You only pick 5 of these. Can I have all of them?
Yeah, for real. I'm going Barkley, Eckler, Brown, Hopkins, Eckler. Oh, you said Eckler twice.
Okay, so Barkley and Eckler are locks. So
Barkley
is Brown.
3,
so is
Hopkins. And then I think Clyde
Edwards-Helaire. Clyde after that. I would go with Mike Evans personally.
I go Hilaire.
Really? You'd go with Hilaire, huh?
Yeah.
I stand by the fact that the Bucs offense is going to only get better next year. And Mike Evans was consistently banged up right at the beginning of the season. We always preach don't draft injured players. And we had Dr. Edwin Porras on a week before the season started. And Mike Evans was dealing with a hamstring injury and was virtually a decoy for the first couple weeks of the season. So if he's able to stay healthy throughout training camp, another year with Tom Brady, another year with that offense, maybe even some of those guys leave too. If AJ Brown or if Antonio Brown leaves or potentially even Chris Godwin leaves, that's even more vacated production for a guy like Mike Evans to handle. And we're already talking about a guy that had 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns last season with a brand new quarterback. So, yeah.
On the other side, though, like I know everybody wants to be down on Hilaire, and I think personally, like he was.
I think he's a little undervalued, but I think Mike Evans is about the tier where I'm starting to talk about him with respective to receivers.
I would take Hilaire simply because this guy was a top 12 running back this year with Le'Veon Bell chipping in. Like people are going to make the argument for Damian Williams, but at the same time, he did it this year with Le'Veon Bell. So I don't really see the situation changing. And if I can get a top 15 RB versus a top 8 to 12 receiver is probably around where Evans is, I'm just going to take the RB at that point because I think it's more valuable.
Yeah, for sure. The RB is definitely more valuable. It's just more so like sometimes you just like, as much as you like some players, you're just like, I can't pass on this guy who is virtually like, I mean, no receiver has put up 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons to start their career like Mike Evans has. So, and no receiver in NFL history has ever done that. So if he's on the field, he's consistent and he has attached to the right arm of a 7-time Super Bowl champion quarterback.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, for real. Aguilar was good this year. Spicy Hot.
I honestly would re-sign him if I was Oakland or Las Vegas. I would go out and get Galladay, re-sign Aguilar, and then you have a very formidable core. You have Galladay, you have Aguilar, you have Ruggs, you have Edwards, and then then you got a nice 4 deep at receiver. You have less pressure on those young guys to develop, and you still have your number 1 target as a tight end. So even Galladay isn't even a huge pressure to perform either. Yep,
for sure. So Yael said with his 3 keepers, I would absolutely have to know if Aaron Jones is gone or not, first of all, because if Aaron Jones is gone, I'm 100% keeping AJ Dillon with that 16th. Regardless, the 2 that I'm taking for sure, without no stipulation, are JT and Allen Robinson in the 6th. And then if Aaron Jones is gone, I would keep AJ Dillon in the 16th. That's how I do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's so free.
So Taylor, Robinson, and Dillon.
4th for McLaurin versus the 15th for Chark is interesting to me. I'm not sure which direction I would go with that.
I go Chark at that value.
I think I would too, just because it's a 15th round pick that you're giving up. Like that's absolutely like nothing, and you're getting a wide receiver 3 at minimum, wide receiver 2, 1-ish type upside. With a guy like Chark coming in with Trevor Lawrence, if he lights up the league, like you getting his number 1 receiver for like nothing.
Yeah, for sure. So the Dom, we actually answered this question. I'm not sure if you
we can go back and go over it.
We can go over it.
So at the 103, we already talked about that's like a very good spot to be in this rookie class, in my opinion. If it's a super flex league, I don't know if you want to add that in real quick. It's easier for us to talk about it, but you're guaranteed either Trevor Lawrence or one of those 2 running backs with that 103 pick, Najee Harris or Travis Etienne. So I think those are great picks all around for those 3 guys, assuming it's a super flex. And then at the 105, you're probably likely to get another one of the top 4 quarterbacks with Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, or Justin Fields, or maybe you need a wide receiver and you want to go Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith, whoever your wide receiver one is, at that pick, I don't really hate going that way as well. As it stands right now, my current like big board of rookie drafts, consider it like if you assume your team is just neutral, it needs everything. I would go personally with Travis Etienne at 103 if he was there, because I imagine he would be. And at the 105, I would pick probably Zach Wilson or Trey Lance or Justin Fields.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah, it would be a great core. Hopefully Mike does resign him.
Yeah.
Matt leaves his running backs now. Okay. So we got Zeke, Gibson, Akers, and Dobbins.
After this question, too, we're going to head out of here. So leave any last questions while we're answering this in the comments, and then we'll answer the last ones that are on the screen, and then we'll be heading out of here because we're closing in on an hour and a half here.
This is a tough one, man.
I have Cam Akers ranked highest out of all those guys, especially in a Dynasty league, too.
A Dino? Yeah, I'm fine with Akers being the highest. The problem is, where are you in terms of your team to valuing immediate production versus valuing long-term youth longevity, if you will?
I mean, his receivers are pretty ready to compete in the long term, not necessarily. He says he has Lamar too, so I imagine you can compete this year. So I would say you have a contender this year.
And if that's the case, I think Zeke
by your quarterback and your running backs, though. So you have a running team.
I think Zeke is going to finish the highest in these next 2 years of these running backs. However, after the really.
I think Cam Akers finishes higher.
I will bet you that right now.
I will right now.
How much?
I'll give you Zeke a second on this list, but I do think Cam Akers finishes higher
this year.
Yep, dude. I'm gonna be super high on this.
How much?
I don't know. We can add it to. We can do a season pre bets or something. Add it to a sheet, put $20 in or $50 in, and throw it in.
I think Zeke's floor is like RB6, RB7, and that's what I view Akers.
I think Zeke's floor is RB6, RB7. I agree with you, but I don't think Zeke's ceiling is RB1. I think Cam Akers' ceiling is RB1.
And I think Zeke could finish like RB2, RB3 because he's done it before when the offense wasn't imploded. Keep in mind, this guy was RB3 on points per game before Dak went down.
For sure, I know that. But Christian McCaffrey was hurt, and so was Saquon Barkley.
That's fair, but that was taken into account when Christian McCaffrey's points as well, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, the Johnson.
That's interesting.
Also, just real quick.
Yeah, okay. But for me, in that scenario, do you value Zeke's fringe top 5 running back numbers of the next 2 years, or do you value the longevity point? Because these guys are all in the same tier, in my opinion, in terms of dynasty assets.
I think they're all in the same tier in redraft, too, personally.
I have Zeke higher than them.
Yeah, I know. You're a Cowboys fan, though.
Well, so no. I'm also basing that off objective reasoning, not just because I'm a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, no, for sure. But either way, these are guys that are all going to end up in my top 12 running backs guaranteed for next year fantasy football, like a redraft. So, and the 3 that you have that are the young guys, the Gibson, Akers, and Dobbins, you're in a great situation going forward. I would not trade a single guy from this running back core.
No, I wouldn't either.
Because people do this. They're going to look at this and be like, oh, especially if you can only start 3 of these guys, they're going to go, oh, I can only start Zeke, Antonio Gibson, and Cam Akers. Maybe I should trade J.K. Dobbins, especially because I have Lamar already. No. Running backs get hurt. Hold on to the 4 guys that you got. They can carry your team. If you have Lamar Jackson and maybe another good quarterback, and you have these 4 running backs, it's not going to matter who you throw at a receiver and tight end.
For sure. Y'all watched fan controlled football yesterday. By the way, Don said Superflex League, but I didn't get to see it, but I heard it was actually like pretty fun. You kind of covered it in your next comment. It had a lot of errors, but it seems fun. See you, Spicy out, by the way. Nice seeing you on the live. And Matt kind of clarified with it. Yes, I understand. I'm a Cowboys fan.
I'm not a Cowboys fan, and I still think he's a top 10 running back.
Easily. Now, Matt, if you want to see more like information or input on our thoughts of these guys going into next season, we actually dropped our mock draft, way too early fantasy football mock draft of our first 2 rounds. It's on the channel, I think, on the thumbnail right now.
You sort by most viewed, a little flex. It's like one of the more viewed videos, so you'll be able to find it pretty easily that way.
So got Kamara and Adams on it, and basically we just kind of break down the first couple of rounds, and that was like instant fire right after the season. I think it was like 4 days after the Week 16 game. Yeah. So I think that's something you enjoy because, I can start all 4 of them. You're chilling.
All 4 of those guys, dude, like they can carry those 4 guys alone. It doesn't even matter who your receivers are. Like those 4 dudes alone are workhorse running backs.
Yeah, they're taking
project them to be workhorse running backs.
Yeah,
so
you can book your playoff. You can book your playoff spot right now with those 4.
Yeah. basically all you have to do when I have a team like that, if I have a dynasty team where I have 4 elite running backs like that, or 4 like top 12 running backs like that, and I have a top 5 quarterback in Lamar Jackson too, what I'm doing with my receivers is I'm getting boom or bust. I'm getting Will Fullers and I'm getting like guys like that, because all I need for I don't need floor for my receivers. I get that from my running backs. I need ceiling for my receivers. So that's how I would construct my team if I had those kind of running back assets. I mean, you listed your receivers already. Robert Woods is solid. He's got like a floor, but guys like Brandon Cooks, like that's a perfect example. He's a high ceiling type receiver. Yeah. And then, like I said, I would probably try and move some of those younger pieces for maybe like a Mike Evans or an Amari Cooper, who, again, we've seen them have high ceilings on a weekly basis too. So,
yeah, no, 100%. So he says, I also have Tony Fowler, forgot to add. And see you, man. Thanks for the help. Nice seeing you, Matt.
New you guys are in this and you haven't already liked the live stream, go ahead and do that. Helps us out. And then if you haven't subscribed to the channel, also go ahead and do that. And then, yeah, as we mentioned, Discord, draft guide link. If you guys want to go read our 2 free articles, potentially pre-order the guide. There's plenty now up for you to view if you do choose to pre-order the guide. So check out that link in the description as well. Thanks for joining us, guys. We hope to see you again next week. Peace out and enjoy your Sunday.
Peace out and appreciate that, Matt. Oh, thank you to Evan and Yael as well.